Close flight dive on it.
This is twice now the Celtics have been first to the floor.
Save with Horford. Unbelievable.
Boston first to the floor. So good.
Brown fakes, fires up the three. Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, layup. Washington drive. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
Welcome into another episode of First to the Floor. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. I'm Ben Vallis, and I'm joined by Celtics Blog's finest, Wayne Spooney. How's it going, Spooney?
Yeah, Celtics Blog's least proficient author this month, dude. I just haven't had it in me, but next month I'll be ripping into it. I'm doing good, dude. I'm a little under the weather, so I'm going to do my best not to clear my throat or sniff my nose into the mic. But, you know, it's great. That "wanna block my Derek White" from Breen still gets me so hyped, dude.
Gets you going? Yeah, absolutely. I read your like part one of your Summer League Diaries on Celtics Blog. Fantastic read, by the way.
Thank you.
If you're watching the show live or listening later, make sure you check it out. I'll throw the link in the description. In fact, I think it's already there, so definitely go check that out. And while we're groveling for engagement, please like this stream. Please subscribe to the First to the Floor YouTube channel. If you're watching on CLNS, hop over here, click like, click subscribe. If you're watching on the First to the Floor channel, do the inverse of that and then come back on over. We stopped asking for likes and subscriptions and things like that right around the finals, and notably since then there's been a drop-off in our subscriber rate. So if you could please hop on that, that'd be great. Now, on the show tonight, the ultimate Celtics fan bucket list. That is all of the things a Celtics fan should try and do in their life, experiences, memory-forming occasions, however you want to describe it. Folks in the chat or watching later, we need your help. Let us know what you think the ultimate Celtics fan experiences are. This is quintessential off-season material. It's honestly like what we thrive on here on the First to the Floor show. But speaking of the off-season, before we get to the bucket list, we'd like to map out the off-season here on the show. Generally, it's something we do every year just to give you little mental stepping stones to get through this drought of Celtics basketball. So we've got some semi-important off-season dates coming up, notably Team USA schedule. So we'll get to the first few days, and then we'll be back with another pod in a few days' time where we can cover the rest of the schedule. But July 27, Australia versus Spain, 5 a.m. Spoonie time / Boston time, 7 p.m. Saturday night, Australian Eastern Standard Time, prime time. Crack a beer. Watch the Aussies beat the Spaniards there, which is most likely not going to happen. But I think that's notable viewing, like lots of NBA talent in that game. And the Aussies are sort of historically a pretty scrappy team that play above their the NBA level otherwise at the international tournament there. So that's going to be a lot of fun. July 28, 11:15 a.m. US Eastern Standard Time. Serbia versus USA. Former MVP Nikola Jokic, in fact, what am I saying? Current MVP Nikola Jokic versus the boys in red, white, and blue. That's going to be a really interesting game and sort of the kickoff game for the USA Olympic campaign. July 30, we've got Canada versus Australia. Again, lots of NBA talent there. And July 31, USA versus South Sudan, which if it's anything like that exhibition game, that's going to be a lot of fun as well. So we'll cut off the schedule there. That's just 4 little pockets of basketball glory that you can sort of focus on in the immediate short term to get you through this next stage of the offseason. Spoonie, I want to ask you, though, as we talk about the Olympic campaign, like how invested are you in American Olympic basketball at this point in time?
So, like, my amount of investment in international USA soccer is like a 10 out of 10. It rivals the Celtics. It's probably the same as the Celtics. USA international basketball is like a 3. They're just like, it's not fun. They just always win. You know what I mean? Like, it's when you're like expected to be by far the best team, and bar like a couple times in the last 40 years are the best team every time, often by a considerable margin. I don't know, man. It's not like a great viewing experience. It's like, oh man, can LeBron break down Shylock, a dude who went to like Butler or something like Iowa State and was like a bench player there. It's like, oh wow, LeBron's going by these dudes who've never sniffed the NBA. It's like, I don't know. I'm a hater. It's fine. It's better than no basketball. I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, what about the fact that there's 3 Celtics on the team this year who've just won a title? Does that spice it up for you a little bit?
Yeah, I think somewhat. Especially Drew's just been so good that I'm really invested in him being awesome. Tatum, I just want to see him make some shots, so I'm very invested in that. And then I don't know what they're gonna do with Derek White. It feels like he looks great, and then he kind of doesn't. And then online people are like, "What's he doing there?" And it's like, well, he's Derek White. He's the perfect glue guy. That's exactly what you want as your 12th man. So it definitely helps my investment levels. I just hate a lot of the dudes on the team, man. Like Embiid, LeBron, Devin
Not a big
Booker.
LeBron
Like
guy?
it's hard to cheer for him, dude. Like it really is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the investment for a lot of people, and from what I've heard, like a lot of Americans as well, is like, can anyone beat them? And like we sort of sneakily would like to see them lose. Obviously, we want to see them win the gold medal for those Americans watching, listening to the show, and obviously yourself, Spoony. But to see them challenged along the way, I think it would help increase one's investment in the tournament. And there's just so much more talent across the international stage now that seems to become more and more a probability that they will be challenged along the way. Even like despite this sort of like dream team-esque roster that they filled out. So really looking forward to Olympic basketball and just the Olympics in general. Like it's one of the softer off seasons in that sense that we've actually got something to sort of carry us through. Like I mentioned, this drought of Celtics basketball. So looking forward to that starting now that the summer league has dried up there. So other off-season dates. So there's some preseason dates were announced. October 4th. Versus Denver in Abu Dhabi, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. October 6th again versus Denver in Abu Dhabi. And then a bit of a whirlwind tour back home in the States. October 12 against Philly in Philly. And then the next day, a back-to-back, a preseason international back-to-back. We leave Philly, go straight to Toronto the following day. I know, it's incredibly dumb. So expect to see a lot of Baylor Shireman and Peyton Pritchard and that kind of thing, which would probably be a lot of fun to see Walshy dunk all over the Raptors there. And then again, the 15th of October at Toronto, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So the good news there is that it's only 70 days until the 4th of October. Probably 71 days because you guys are a day behind me there. So the countdown is on. 70 days.
Right.
Let's go. I don't know how many weeks that is. It's a lot. And speaking of things that are a lot of weeks away, Spoony, a 9-part Celtics documentary was announced for HBO Max. That's the binge streaming service in Australia here for any Aussie folks listening. Released in April of 2025, which it may as well be fucking 10 years away, dude.
I know,
cannot
dude.
wait. We're going to be watching the playoffs at that time. How are we meant to separate ourselves from enjoying the championship run 9-part documentary and the literal actual present day playoffs at the same time? It's mind-boggling.
I might save it for the off season. I probably won't be able to help myself, but that's the plan right now. Save it for the off season. But man, thank God they won. Cause like I would not be able to watch it if they lost in like game 6 of the finals or something like that. It is like what a perfect season to have that documentary come out. The vibes were super high. I am so excited for Joe Mazzulla behind the scenes, just like crazy shit he's saying to people like, watch out, Jason, I'll choke you in your sleep. And it's like, shit like that. Like, there's going to be tons of like Joe sound bites that are going to be so good. So looking forward to it, but good God, it's a year away. I'm shocked it's taking that long. I figured they'd try to get it out before the season starts to kind of like build momentum for the title defense, but hey, I mean, how many teams have had a 9-part documentary the year after they won a title? Probably 0. So we're lucky in that way.
Yeah, lucky, like you said, that it wasn't going to be this 9-part loser brigade documentary if we did end up losing last year. So we're going to have to wait for a while for it to come out, but hopefully it's just because they're editing and producing the shit out of it and it becomes some memorable thing that we can add to our bucket lists, which we'll get to in a second. But before we get to that, a quick word from our friends over at Game Time. First of the Floor is brought to you by Game Time. I absolutely love going to MLB games when I'm in the US for the summer. One of my favorite sports memories is going to a Red Sox game while on my honeymoon in Boston on Patriots Day. It was just such a quintessential Boston outing. And when I head back next time, I'll be using the Game Time app to grab our tickets. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, used from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. We just bought all of our Vegas Summer League tickets very easily using the Game Time app, and you can take advantage of all the great Game Time features such as last-minute tickets, flash deals, and zone deals. Easy to find and buy MLB tickets for every kind of event in your area, plus lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. There's legitimately so many amazing features that keeps bringing me back to the Game Time app, including the aforementioned last-minute deals. You can hang out outside the arena and snap up a last-minute deal on your seats. You can preview views from all the seats in the venue, and of course, Game Time's lowest price guarantee, event cancellation, and job loss protection. So, take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Spoonie, let's get to the bucket list.
Do it.
And just to preface this segment again with the proper context, we're going to do this 1v1 draft style, just back and forth, drafting the best possible Celtics fan experiences. And I think the approach needs to be, we're drafting from the standpoint of like, how would you build out your bucket list? So like attending a finals game would be on the bucket list, but it wouldn't be first. The assumption is that you're a Celtics fan, you've had none of these experiences, and you're trying to build out your repertoire as a hardened Celtics fan, having gone through all the best experiences Celtics fandom has to offer. Now, I will genuinely, Spoonie, grant you with the first pick in this very, very important draft, maybe the draft of the offseason, better than the actual draft. What do you got for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Fireworks over here. Certainly better than Alex Sarr. That's for sure. I think so. Number one. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do this one. I'm going to keep mine pretty realistic. So I'm going to delete be in the locker room when they win the title. Because that's never going to happen. Yeah.
That's good.
Mine is go to a game 7 in the Garden. So ideally the finals. I think the odds of the normal human being able to like afford to go to a game 7 finals game in the Garden is just about impossible. But like there's game 7s in the Garden, no matter the round, are absolutely fucking electric. We've seen a bunch of awesome performances in game 7. One of them will probably come up in my historical pick in a little bit, but like we were there for game 3 of the finals. It was in a crazy atmosphere. Can you imagine if that was game 7, dude? It would have been absolutely totally insane. Round 1, round 2, round 3 does not matter. Anytime, it's probably going to be the best game viewing experience of your life.
Yeah, I had just go to a Celtics game. Like if you are an experience-less Celtics fan, just like get on a plane, like buy the tickets, bite the bullet, so to speak, and just get yourself there and use the code CLNS, by the way, on the Game Time app to purchase their tickets. But really because I just remember 2011, I was 23 years old, and that was the first time I found myself with any money. Like I had a stable full-time job, and I'd been this rabid Celtics fan for quite a few years at that point, and I was like, I could actually just fucking go. Like I could get on a plane and go to Boston and go to a game. And what I didn't realize at the time, because I was still relatively new in my close watching fandom, was that late April is like not a good time to go. But I have no regrets.
Time.
I have no regrets at all. Like I remember walking into TD Garden the day I got off the plane, like 20-hour flights, and just walking in, and the thing that I had seen on the TV for so long, just seeing that in real life in 3 dimensions. I will never forget that experience. It's just like completely embedded on the inside of my eyelids. And if you haven't managed to take that experience on for yourself, life is short. Do what you can to seize that, because really there's no looking back from that point. And it'll be the beginning of a massive landslide where you'll end up starting your own podcast and putting your imprint on Celtics media for the rest of your life if you're lucky. So go to a Celtics game, but yeah, more importantly, get to a high stakes game like a game 7. Absolutely. Great pick. I'm starting low, and I'm hoping that some of my other experiences will be available to me later in the draft, but be alive for a championship. And obviously,
it's a great one.
This is great. We've just achieved this. Unless you're a very young new listener, welcome to the world. And I'm sorry that you weren't alive a couple of months ago for the championship. But I wanted to put this on the bucket list because we've been all chasing this for so long. I think there was, obviously 2008 was the one championship won in our lifetime, Spoonie. Both born in 87. The prior championship obviously won the year before in 86. Not many championships for a organization that's defined by its volume of championships. To only now have 2 in our lifetime, this one that we just won feels massively significant. And there's probably no limit to how often we can say that and emphasize that. And it's got to be on the bucket list because up until recently, it was at the top of my bucket list. Like, please fucking win a championship. Please let me be following the team this closely while they win a championship. And yes, we've just achieved that. It's got to be on the bucket list, though, because I don't know if this is going to end up in the podcast archives, Spoonie, and 40 years from now, people are listening to this. We've not won another championship. It's got to be at the top of their bucket list. So
For sure.
I know it's kind of corny because we just won one, but it's definitely an important part of any sports fan's bucket list, I think.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Like those 16 years, those were a very long 16 years in between the championships, man. And there's no better feeling. When I was growing up, Boston was like loser town.
Right.
And I'm not a big Patriots fan. Like I like the NFL, but I'm not like a huge Pats fan. So the first time I actually felt like true elation for a championship was the '04 Red Sox. But the Celtics always meant the most to me. And they fucking sucked when I was growing up. So when we got KG and Ray, man, it was like unbelievable, like so incredibly happy. The fact we've had two in our lifetimes is pretty special, man. Like you look at a lot of these teams have never even been to the NBA finals. So yes, hopefully we're alive for many, many championships, but that's like a must have, must do.
What?
Go ahead.
You got a pick for us?
I
Pick number
do.
3?
Very related to that. Go to a championship parade. It's awesome. I went to the '04 Red Sox parade. It was incredible, amazing. The one this year looked so good with Missoula jumping off the duck boats, going absolutely insane. Everybody's super hyped. It felt like they were out there for longer than they usually are too. I don't know if they were going slower, it was a longer route, or just like I was, 17 and a little tipsy when I went to my first parade. So, and it didn't feel like that long. And when you're there, you only see them go by and then it's kind of over. But
Yeah, right.
it is a very unique atmosphere where everyone is just so happy to be there. There's no tension like when you go to a game, because you've already won. Like the game is like terrifying all through it. And then it's elation at the end. The parade is like all day. You show up. It's like 11 a.m. Everybody's already started drinking. Everybody's pumped. Everybody's high-fiving you randomly. It is an amazing experience.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I obviously been unable to achieve in my longer life as a Celtics fan thus far is get to a parade, just because the turnaround time, like if you are lucky enough to win a championship, it's like, okay, I've got to somehow get myself to Boston within a week. That's a tough one, but obviously would recommend that to anyone else who can go. And folks who did go, obviously there were a lot of people there, up to 1 million they estimate. Let us know in the comments your experience of going to the championship parade there and what that was like compared to your other Celtics experiences. Definitely curious to understand more about that. I actually rewatched the parade recently. I've been doing playoff rewatches and recently did a Game 5 rewatch, followed immediately by the parade, which was just like an awesome pairing. When you like pair different like non-sequential Star Wars episodes up and they just pair really nicely. Similar kind of vibe there. I don't know if that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I would put meet your Celtics internet friends would be my next
That's
pick.
a great one.
Yeah. Because we're also online now as sports fans, just as citizens of the world and of the internet. And you do form some close relationships, as close as you can, really, with the boundaries that large oceans and things like that. But online, and to actually meet those people in person. And I've been lucky enough to hang out with you a couple of times now, Spoonie, and Jake as well. Shout out to our guy Jake, by the way, who's on sabbatical in Bali.
He'll be back soon.
Well. He'll be back soon. It's so much fun because you're meeting these people for the first time, but you've got so much in common and you've got such a backlog of sort of historical conversations and I guess inadvertently forming a closeness to one another. You don't even sort of realize that you're doing it at the time. That when you do finally catch up in person, you really hit the ground running and you learn things about those guys that you maybe didn't get the opportunity to through your normal online channels. And it's just it's like pen pals on crack, I guess. It's just like taking that concept to a whole new level, and to meet people in person and beyond, yourself and Jake, and I've been able to meet Jackson as well a couple of times. Meeting guys like Sam LaFrance and Jack Simone and Bobby Kravitsky and Noah Dalzell and those people in person in Vegas as well was a lot of fun to actually sit and catch up with those guys.
It was. And I mean, I think the highlight, you didn't even mention him because I feel like we're almost friends. We're just friends with him now, was Greeny, dude. Like, we just hung out with him for like 7 hours and he was like telling us about his life. Like, we were old buddies catching up, man. And it's not like we'd ever met him in person before, you know? We've done like 7, maybe 10, 15 1-hour episodes with him about the Celtics, but it felt so natural. It felt like meeting up with an old friend, which I tried to kind of describe that feeling in my Summer League Part 1, where I was like meeting up with you guys. And it's like, I've talked to you dudes so much, but it's still like just a little bit different in person. And then we got together and it was like not different at all. We were just 3-dimensional, you know?
Yeah. Same, but different. It is different to just like sit with someone in person. And who knows where like podcasting technology will get to, where like maybe through VR or Apple Vision Pro or some shit in like 5 years time, we can essentially be at least simulating the experience of sitting in the same room together. But running about Vegas with your internet buddies, talking about the Celtics championship and drinking a few beers, a lot of fun. Highly recommend it. All right, what's your next pick, Spoody?
I got catch a Celtics 50 ball. So I've been in the building for 2 50 pieces. Tatum against Washington in Washington, which I wish it was in the Garden. It would have been a lot better. But it was like 50% Celtics fans. And he was in one of those pull-up 3 zones where it was just like, oh, that's going in. Everything's going in. That was incredible to watch. But the highlight, I was in Boston, in the Garden. Isaiah Thomas, 52 against the Heat in December or January of that 2016-17 season. And that rivaled the finals game, because everyone absolutely loved that team, loved IT. He hit like this absurd 3 to essentially win the game after Miami came back. And there's just like, it just doesn't happen that often. And to be in the building when it's like, it's the third quarter, he's got 30, like, what? Oh man, like what's going on here? Like the whole crowd's like, he's got 39 now. Like what? Whoa, like 42. What's gonna, you know? And it just builds up, and then he hit. I think the 3 made him go up to 52, and the whole crowd's going crazy. I turned to like an 11-year-old behind me, and I was like, cherish this moment. You'll never see it again. And his dad's like, listen to him.
He backed you up. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was awesome, man. Like, and of course you can't really choose it, and a lot of us don't have opportunities to go to that many games, but if you're lucky enough to catch one, it's amazing.
Yeah, and you mentioned having the opportunities or not, and hopefully like the breadth of this list is such that anyone, despite their capabilities or opportunities, can at least grab 2 or 3 of those things and try and integrate that into their Celtics fandom over the next year. Obviously realizing that getting to a physical game is difficult for most people, myself included. But yeah, so I would add to that, and I can make this my pick as well, Spoonie, is be present for a moment. So whether that's 50 points, whether that's the winning of a championship and the dropping of confetti, and the only way that you can achieve that, this is somewhat contrary to what I just said about capabilities, is just go to as many games as possible, because the higher volume of games you attend, the more likely you are to experience something awesome. I mentioned my 2011 trip to the States to catch the Celtics, and one of the downsides of that is the first game I went to was great. We played KG, we played Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Rondo, we played the rookie John Wall Wizards. It was a great game. Celtics won, got to see Ray Allen splash a couple of threes. It was awesome. Next 2 games before the playoffs, the Celtics played their entire bench, both games, including the one where I went to Washington, D.C., cheapest way possible, many planes, many buses. It was brutal. I had no money, but I got there and I got to witness a moment, which was Von Wafer blowing the dunk and then celebrating what he thought was a made dunk on the Washington Wizards floor. Very funny. Maybe my most embarrassing moment as a Celtics fan, where I also got up and fist pumped and cheered the dunk before realizing, slightly before Von Wafer did, that it was not a made dunk. And it's now a moment. It's a memeable moment, but it's something that you can look up on YouTube. It's stamped in Celtics history, for better or for worse. I think in hindsight, it's for better. But you know, being present for a moment where you can kind of, like a dickhead, when it comes up in conversation, be like, I was actually there, man. and
Yeah.
it's like a bit of a
We all
humble
do
brag.
it. We all do
Yeah.
it. I'm so guilty of doing that, but
It's totally, but it's a lot of fun to do. For example, I'll do it right now. I was there for the Manu Ginobili block on James Harden at the end of, I want to say, Game 5 of that series down in San Antonio. A lot of fun.
Damn,
Talk
dude.
about it all the time. My friends
Yeah.
hate me for it, but I'll keep doing it. So be there for a moment is definitely on the bucket list
Hell
as well,
yeah.
I think. What do you got next, Spinny?
Meet or speak to Mike Gorman.
Oh,
We've lost we've lost a lot of Celtics legends in the last, couple years here. I don't know how much time we'll have to not, even if it's like Mike's signing shit at Dick's Sporting Goods for an hour or whatever, just being able to like shake his hand and be like, thank you for being like the voice of my entire life up until you retired, dude. I love you, Mike. He is for the Celtics, man. Like he is the voice, like the voice of the Celtics isn't just a goofy name. Like I was going back and looking at old highlights, and I think I grabbed a game from 1986, and it's Mike Gorman on the call. It's like ridiculous. Like shit's practically in black and white, and it's still Mike sounding the same. So anyway, just get in a room, have a conversation with him. You've got to exchange emails with him. Even that would be enough for me. I just want to like feel the presence of Mike Gorman.
yeah, very much going to print that email off and frame it and hang it on my wall. It seems like at this point, Mike having retired, that's going to be the extent of my correspondence with him. But I'll take it. That's a really good one, Spoonie.
Got more time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe we'll hit him up. Rick Rossetti replied to our post on Twitter, said get floor seats, which I think, really is at the top of that. You might be limited by your capabilities or lack thereof for that. Yeah. Getting floor seats, I think even for Summer League is something that we considered, and it's just so prohibitively expensive. But sometimes you might work for a company that knows someone who's got a contact. There's multiple different avenues to getting yourself down there on the floor. You could do the Glenn Davis spot and swap, sit in someone else's seat, get yourself on the floor, even if just for a moment before being brutally embarrassed on TV and then subsequently in prison for an unrelated crime. But I digress. Getting floor seats, I think, would be a fantastic bucket list item. A couple more from our Discord channel. So Icy from our Discord channel said, see the Celtics in every NBA arena, which is a personal dream of mine. I might have to wait till I'm like 70 and, my kid is self-sufficient and I can travel around on my own or with some friends. And Eli from our Discord says, all-time bucket list item is to get season tickets. I would love to get semi-famous and be able to sit courtside at a bunch of games a la McLovin or Donnie Wahlberg with the ultimate goal of becoming our Spike Lee type super fan, which I thought was a great bucket list.
That's a dream. What a dream. What a beautiful, beautiful dream. I have some dumb ones if you want me to kind of rattle off a few stupid ones. Jiu-jitsu training with Joe Mazzulla. Try and find out his trainer. Maybe, book an hour right before or after Joe. Try and spar with him, even though I have zero training and he would murder me. But talk fantasy novels with Luke Cornett.
Wow.
Even via internet. Luke apparently is a big fantasy nerd. I am too. I would love to talk shop, see if he's read the First Law, I'll even talk Lord of the Rings with him, even though it's been a while and I don't totally remember everything about it. And then I almost picked this number one. Stare into Al Horford's eyes from 2 feet away. Ideally for at least 10 seconds, but I'll take 10 milliseconds. I just want to look into his eyes from close range and just feel the glory.
So it's like the kissing booth, but you just pay to stand 2 feet from him and stare into his eyes. You can make a lot of money on that. You can do that on like Omegle or I don't know, is that sort of thing?
OnlyFans.
That'd be great. That's not dumb at all. That's maybe the most serious, heartening pick of the draft so far. That's incredible. I've probably got some in the same vein as that, some dumb ones. Plant your flag on a ridiculous hill and then die on that hill.
Love it, dude. That's so good. Yeah.
Me on the podcast last week, that IT ceiling in today's NBA would be that of a decent six-man. Not even a six-man of the year, just a decent six-man. I've copped a lot of shit for that in our Discord, somewhat deservedly so. That and the other flag I've planted and died on is that the Jordan Crawford Eastern Conference Player of the Week, February 2013, was a top 10 Celtics moment of this century.
Yeah, and I'll add to planting your flag, pick your guy, like pick your end of the bench guy and defend him to the death even against all objective information. Doesn't matter. He's your guy, and you believe in him, and he's gonna figure it out. And sometimes they do, and that's when it's the best. That's when
Absolutely.
It's worthwhile. Yeah.
At other times, you're Bill Simmons fist pumping on live national television as James Young gets drafted, and just with some acceptance going in that that's who you're going to be most of the time. You're going to be a fist pumping, failing Bill Simmons. Just accept that, move on. Everyone does it. It's all good, and it's a lot of fun and a quintessential part of the fandom experience. Similar to that, I would add, I'm probably skipping a turn here, Spoonie, but we've kind of gone off the beaten path a little bit. Get in a Twitter fight. Maybe not a bucket list item, maybe more of a rite of passage, I would say, but it's kind of like being like cleansed in the holy waters or something. Your head comes out after being submerged in those waters, and you are a new person, a new hardened fan where you've potentially been completely struck down by a huge cohort of Celtics or NBA Twitter for a take you had. This is similar to the dying on a hill, and you maybe had to fight your way verbally via text out of a corner, or you've just shut the laptop screen and taken a long walk, touch grass, as they say. But definitely a quintessential part of the fan experience nowadays online.
Yeah, absolutely. I've gotten into my Twitter. I don't get into a ton of Twitter spats, but back in the day, especially before I started doing this show, and like people kind of started knowing who I was on the Reddit, because I would write a lot there. I used to go at people. Like if someone had a take and I was like, I know a stat that completely like contradicts that take, I would go at people. But once in a while, I would like have the wrong year up. Or like, you know what I mean? Or like, wait, that's his catch and shoot 3-point percentage, not his, not his total. And it's like, oh shit, I fucked up royally. And then you got to fall on the sword. But I've gotten into plenty of Reddit spats for sure. And yeah, it's a rite of passage. It's definitely a bucket list item, even if it's not my favorite thing to do, but you got to do it.
Yeah, you need to like use a stat like EPM or something to build a narrative of a player or a take, only for like 20 people to come down and tear down like the actual value of that stat. And while it's irrelevant, it should never be used in any argument. Then you really, you're living.
Yeah, that's right.
Couple more here. I'm just scrolling through my list. Okay, here's a legitimate pick. Go to an away game in hostile territory.
I have go to Philly and watch the Celtics in Philadelphia. Yeah.
Yeah. And what happened to you in Philly? Didn't someone throw some sort of thing at you?
I got hit with an egg the night before the game in South Philly. Someone leaned out of a car and threw an egg at my chest. The girl next to us puked in her seat in the first quarter. And then she left to go to the bathroom and didn't come back for like until the third quarter, and her boyfriend was just sitting there and didn't do anything about it.
No.
And then I got the double barrel birds like 20 times because we won. And it was a great game. It's the game where Embiid hit like the 3/4 court shot as time expired that didn't count. And so people were just flipping me off and like, fuck the Celtics. And I just had a big smile on my face and like,
you're better for
man.
it.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Growth mindset. Kaizen, get yourself to an away game. It's good for you. Good for your soul. What else you got for us, Spoonie?
Lakers Celtics game, doesn't matter where, just like the most historic rivalry in basketball. I've never been to a Lakers Celtics game. I want to at least catch one. If it's Christmas Day, that would be like the ideal. But just any Lakers Celtics game, just say you've done it, man. Like, that's the rivalry. That is our rival. I think that for me would be, that one's near the top of my personal list because I've been lucky enough to check a few of these off.
Yeah, that's a really good one, and one that I've not yet done. Where it's possible, I think, is like LA. Sydney to LA is like the shortest flight from Australia into the States. And so in theory, if you had unlimited resources and time, you could like line it up pretty nicely just to cruise into LA for a Celtics visiting game and cross off like two of these bucket item lists. You could get the hostile away game and you could get Celtics Lakers. So if you want to efficiently take upon this bucket list, and that'd be a good way to go about it. That's a really good pick. I am running out here. We can get to our historic bucket list items in a second. I will add, because we've just done it, go to Summer League. And it's probably not
I have that
something...
too.
Yeah, it's not something, I don't know if you agree, Spoonie, not something I would have had prior to going to Summer League. It was more about like initially facilitating us catching up and hanging out and kind of doing something in an environment that would, I don't know, just be fun for doing that. And then subsequently and somewhat inadvertently for us, Summer League ended up being really enjoyable. The quality of the basketball was really good. There was this unexpected, we've talked about it a lot already, but just this convergence of Comic-Con style NBA fandom and nerdedness all in one place at one time. And it just ended up being the ultimate immersion in NBA culture. I didn't expect it to be that way, but I'm really glad that it was.
Yeah, dude. I expected it to be more like corporatized, for lack
same.
of a better word. You know, like you people go here, you people go here. It's not like that at all. I mean, there's like media seats, but when they leave them, like they're just we walked right next to Shams, you know, like we almost brushed shoulders with Shams. He's just on his phone. I agree with you. Like, yeah, probably was breaking some signing. I was like always like, it'd be kind of cool to go to Summer League, I guess. But now that I've gone, like, I really, really want to go back. It was so fun and such a unique experience. It was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Like more than a playoff game, I think I want to go back there. And like I was thinking about, we talked about my last day in Vegas, and I was thinking afterwards, like, why did I do so many Vegas things on that last day and not with you guys? And the reason is like before you guys left, like the sights to see, the appeal, if you will, was you guys like hanging out together and watching Summer League basketball together was like the ultimate thing to do in Vegas. And then secondary to that were like everything else that you can do in Vegas, if that makes sense.
Yeah, which is like an adult theme park. So there's endless things to do. Yeah,
I didn't even talk about the Sphere last time, which was a lot of fun. But I digress. What else you got for us before we get to our historic bucket list items?
I think I'm out, man. I think I'm out. I'll pull up my historical list if you've got a couple more.
Well, I'll just preface it with the historic bucket list item is you're trying to achieve all these Celtics things that we've mentioned before you die in your one life, unless you believe in reincarnation, in which case take your time, I guess. And someone, maybe Doc Brown, maybe someone else, offers you a time machine and says, not only can you do all these things we just discussed, but you can also go back in time or potentially forward in time if you want to get predictive about it, Spoonie. And see or visit and experience any Celtics moment from the past. So with that lined up, Spoonie, what do you got for us in that sense?
I have so many of these, but I think my number one has to be one I didn't watch on TV because at least I got to experience that in some capacity live. The 1962 title, Game 7, was an overtime game against the Lakers in Boston. Wow. Like, how fucking crazy. That is like the perfect storm of everything like that makes basketball amazing. The rival, it's a Game 7, and it goes to OT, and of course, we win. So plus you would be able to see, you know, the little guy named Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain live in person would be absolutely incredible. So that's one I didn't think of, but I was just kind of poking through like old memorable games, and that one was on some lists, and I was like, holy shit, that is the perfect storm.
Yeah, I think anything where it either wasn't broadcast or if it was like super grainy, black and white. Because I talked about just walking into TD Garden today and how surreal that is after seeing it broadcast in like 1080p or 4K, 60 frames per second, like very immersive as it is. And yet you walk in there and that's still a shocking difference to go back and like see these games in, you know, your own 4K, whatever perception, like real life IRL perception. Sorry, completely butchered that. Would be absolutely absurd. I actually had on my all-time bucket list Game 7, 1969, Celtics at Lakers. It was the Bill Russell, like he's sort of crying into his hand in the locker room afterwards. Player coach, like so proud of these guys. This was an amazing win. In a similar vein to what you said, Spoonie, that would just be so surreal and incredible to go back and see these guys in their prime, like dynastic Celtics winning days.
Yeah, dude, it would be incredible. I have one that is not finals related. It's playoffs related.
Okay.
But that I was really considering it just because I think it would be so incredible to be in the building. Game 7, round 2, 2008. Pierce and LeBron both have 40 pieces going back and forth, and the Celtics beat Cleveland in Game 7. Like,
hell yeah.
That game would be so awesome, dude.
Yeah,
like,
dude.
Two greats going back and forth, both hanging 40.
Yeah, I think that was one of the games where there was like an excess of smoke in the arena for the first quarter as well, which would have been cool to see in person. But yeah, two greats going at it. Seeing LeBron get beat for one of the last times. I know we lost, I think it was a Game 7 in 2010 at TD Garden as well. But after that, cue a lot of LeBron defeating the Celtics in the playoffs. So to see one of those times where we beat him in his prime would have been a lot of fun. Let me rattle off a couple here. First of all, in the chat, Riven says Game 4, 1984 Celtics-Lakers. Mikal clotheslining Kurt Rambis. That'd be sick. I don't know if I'd want to be wearing my Celtics jersey for that one, Spoody, at that point in time. That might have been tough. Sixers early confetti game.
Oh, that's a good one.
We were just gifted some confetti by Ben Golliver from the championship game. If there's one piece of confetti I'd maybe value more than that, it would be the Sixers early confetti from Game 3, which I'm sure has all been thrown into an incinerator by someone who works for the Sixers organization. Let me rattle off a few here because we're out of time.
I've got
Paul
a few
Pierce,
too, yeah.
Okay, I'll rattle off these and then we'll get to your list. Paul Pierce, game winner over Amari Stoudemire in Madison Square Garden around 2012-ish. The one where Nate Robinson jumps over his back as he's sailing away airplane style. Any game from the Bulls playoff series in 2009, which was an incredible, awesome series. Larry Bird versus the Hawks. It was in a neutral arena. I can't remember. It might have been in New Orleans or something, but he hung 60 on them, and it had all the Hawks players falling out of their seats, just going fucking crazy as Bird did the same. And then really, if I had one choice, I've got to get myself back to February 2013 to see the ultimate run Jordan Crawford Player of the Week. Really, Brad Stevens' magnum opus from a player development guy playing above his normal level perspective.
Of course, yeah. I mean, who could miss out on that when you have so many amazing moments in Celtics history? That one's clearly top 5.
Thank you for backing me on that.
Yeah, absolutely. 1984, Henderson stole the ball. Bird steals the ball against Detroit in 1987. IT dropping 53 on Washington in the second round. And then Tatum, Game 7, dropping 50 on Philly in 2023. But my number one, obviously, 2017, Game 7, Washington, the Kelly Olynyk game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. The game of his life.
Yeah,
so
dude.
Good.
It was crazy. That was a great series, too, man.
Yeah, it was. It really was. Anything that goes 7 and then you can look back on in hindsight and be like, we won. It's that was incredible. Completely ignoring the fact that at the time you were absolutely shitting your pants, anxiety riddled, just hoping for God that you could wake up feeling some joy after a win the next day. That was a lot of fun. This is, like we said at the start of the show, quintessential off-season material, and expect plenty more of that. Once Jake gets back, this is very fitting as Bob Cousy was just, I think, either promised or gifted a ring by Wyc Grousbeck. We're going to do our honorary Celtics ring ceremony, which is basically acknowledging everyone, all the friends we made along the way, everyone who was part of the journey from the big trades in 2013 to winning the ring this year, who we think deserves an honorary ring as part of their role, the role that they played in this journey, if that makes sense. So let us know your thoughts on what we discussed today as far as bucket list items, present or past. Let us know who you think deserves an honorary ring for that upcoming show. Spoonie, this has been a lot of fun. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to maintain this pace of roughly 2 pods per week. We'll likely fire up the playback room for some of those Olympic games, so make sure you're following us on all channels to keep aware of what's going on there. Spoonie, love your work, man. Until next time, go Celtics.